Hi, this is Whitney George speaking. I am the product documentation specialist for the Appirio R&D team. This demo is a tour through the core functions of CMC Work Manager. So what we're looking at right now is the CMC homepage. We can see that the product and the sprint are displayed up here. The really cool thing about the new homepage is that it shows the user relevant information about the project based on the phase that the project is in. So whether the user is in architect, build, or test, the most important relevant details are going to be displayed on their homepage when they log in based on where the work is at. So in build, for example, the things that are highlighted here are there any overdue tasks? What's the remaining task effort? What are the test results looking like? When we scroll and take a look at the graphic here, it is set on LOE burn down. LOE is the level of effort, and we're viewing tasks right now. So the status of those tasks are what we're viewing, and anything that is appearing above this dotted line would be considered to be sort of at risk or in danger of not being completed within the confines of the sprint based on the amount of time that the task has been mapped out to take a developer. What I'm going to do right now is open up a story record in CMC and dig into what a story is, how it attributes to an agile team's function, and how stories can be grouped for productivity and tracking in CMC. Okay, so what we're looking at now is a story record on a product in CMC. So we can see the story name, we can see the product noted here. A story is a business requirement, and it is set in the context of a user story, and it's the core element of Agile and CMC. It allows users to track needs from the project outset, from design all the way to deployment. So by creating story records, users are storing the requirements directly in the record, and then they'll be able to do things like schedule a sprint, schedule that story in a sprint. They can run test cases on it. They can create manifest items for it. Story records note who the owners are, what the acceptance criteria is for successfully completing the work, and also include a detailed description of what exactly the business requirement is. Let's check out some child records on the story that are super useful. So users can guide development by breaking stories down into tasks. Tasks document the step-by-step work needed to complete a single story. Tasks are usually representative of no more than 8 to 16 hours worth of work. And we can see here on the task record that this is related directly to the story. This is added to the story for tracking purposes. Users can add an owner and a description of the specific task. Users can also use the related stories feature to document any development dependencies that may exist between stories to ensure that teams are working together and tackling work in the proper order to build a full feature. Let's navigate back to the original product record in order to take a look at some of the ways that stories can be grouped in CMC. Stories can be grouped in a variety of ways, and one of those is by component. So a component is a fairly high-level subset of the product. If you take a look at the component names, you can get an idea of the level of grouping done by the component object. And for example, creating a component like account management allows for grouping up all stories that represent work that's being completed for this portion of the project. Anything that relates to account management can be organized and grouped in this component. Stories can also be organized by epic. So stories grouped by epic are grouped by an Agile requirement that's just too large to be a single story. So sometimes epics are created after a pattern is noticed once multiple stories have been requested that all relate back to a specific stream of work. So for example, in the epic for refunds, credits, and discounts, every story represents a business requirement that specifically relates back to that feature. Scope traceability and manifest item features are built to make tracking details easier for a team. Scope traceability tracks stories and epics back to specific project scope items. So we're looking at scope traceability now. This is great for delivering internal projects because teams can quantify how they're progressing on the items they specifically set out to build. Manifest items, on the other hand, focus on the end of the project rather than the outset. You can also add manifest items directly to your story record. So we're looking at manifest items on a story record now, and these isolate specific deletions, additions, and modifications the team has implemented to meet the requirements of a user story. Since they're directly on the story record, users can track scope throughout the phases of work, whether they're building, testing, or deploying. So we're taking a look at some of the fields on a manifest item now, and then I'll also show what it looks like if a user goes to add a new manifest item. All right, and the final feature we're taking a look at is a new feature for Work Manager, and one that we're all really excited about, and that is the sprint board. So this is a board that allows teams to track and visualize work in a little bit more visual way. So we can see here the stories and issues for this particular sprint are all mapped out here. We can see the dev owners for each and the current status of the story or issue. And then it's super easy for work to be pulled from one phase or status to the next right on the board. And that concludes our brief tour of the capabilities of CMC Work Manager. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Katie Abair, our Client Success Manager, or to Haley Vining, our Product Manager.